Joining us now to discuss is author and radio host Dennis Prager, the founder of PragerU. Dennis, thanks for being here tonight.
It's so hard for me not to comment on all your terrific comments. And then the last one, it's the world of cognitive dissonance in which they live, but don't know it. This is, I think, unprecedented in American history that people think this unclearly.
It really is. I mean, it's one of those times where you wake up and, I mean, the joke is you think it's a Babylon Bee headline, then you realize, oh, wait, no, this is reality. Some people are actually putting forward some of these propositions. And kind of one of my themes tonight is that the kids are not all right. And you actually address some of these deep cultural currents, actually, in one of your new pieces, as I talked about at Town Hall. But before we get into some of that, depth that you have, I was wondering if you could just talk about Otto, because, myself and I'm sure plenty of others watching right now love to see Otto on your fireside chats or your fireplace, and you're discussing deep, philosophical and, other type issues going on right now. So can you explain your relationship with Otto for the past 12 years?
Well, it's actually a little difficult. I never felt toward a dog the way I felt toward Otto. And to be very open with you, been with my wife for 20 years. And I have never seen her this sad. She's somewhat of a stoic and highly rational person, and the impact on her and all the emails and texts that I received from people speaking about how they felt when they lost their dog. And I'm talking about people who share my values, people who are highly rational. And it has made me realize, and it'll sound odd, I guess, to many of your viewers, that I didn't realize this in the past, the power of a dog in people's lives. And I don't dismiss it at all, as rational as I am. And as I wrote in it, I've sort of concluded, since I am God-centered, maybe God made the dog for us. Maybe it's sort of a gift, not listed as such, but that way. And I noted that in Hebrew, which I know, in Hebrew, the word for dog, since Hebrew has no consonants, you can actually read that word as meaning wholehearted or for the heart. It's really remarkable. It's just as legitimate to say that that's what the word for dog is. So it's a loss. But I want to make another point, if I may, that every time you get a pet, you set yourself up for pain. And I see that as a paradigm about life. You can't have a full life if you want to avoid pain. And a lot of people avoid marriage, avoid having children, because they want to avoid pain, but they don't lead a full life.
And I think that's a perfect place to start, because as we were mentioning with some of those headlines, those wacky headlines from earlier, so much of it, so the reason why so many of these ideologues can get away with thinking these nonsensical ideas is because we are so removed from the rhythms of nature, of basically of God in essence. We kind of forget the rhythms of the natural cycles of birth and death, and as you said, sacrifice for love of other. And it's interesting, your story, I had something very similar. I guess I didn't see what the big deal was with pets either until my younger brother got a dog. He recently got married. Last year, he and his wife got a dog, and she's kind of lit up the whole family. Her name's Bambi, of all things. Very cute, a golden retriever. So I completely understand where you're coming from, and I do sympathize with your loss and want to give you my condolences on that. But, as you mentioned in your article, kind of diving into some of the deeper issues here, as you're mentioning, you have here, and I'll cite it back to you, concern number one, you say, I've long feared that many people are replacing love of humans with love of animals. And then you say, when I first started public speaking in my 20s, I would ask high school students, if your dog and a stranger were both drowning, which one would you try to save first? I was wondering if you could kind of expand on some of that for us.
The origin of that question, and I've been asking it since my 20s, because I've been speaking since my 20s. I have a very odd life, a wonderful life, but very odd.